Hi, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my Stampin' Up! Studio. Before I get started with today's project, I wanted to show you the stamp sets that are being featured in my upcoming online Summer Moments Retreat. That's a mouthful, but registration has opened. It will be open for a couple more weeks unless it fills first. So if you're thinking about doing it, you need to grab your spot. There's 4 different ways you can participate. You can do the full kit retreat all the way down to just the PDFs and the videos. So there's several different variations. These are the stamp sets that we'll be using and the bundles. You don't have to have those. You can substitute something similar if you have something similar, or you can do the retreat and then go back and decide which ones you want to get. So we'll do 12 projects, and then I will do 4 alternates where I use the supplies that were in the card kits, but I switch them up. So that's always fun to do, and that gives you some ideas on how to do it if you don't get all of the sets. But the sets we're going to be using are What's Cooking, or What's Cooking, After the Storm, and Turtle Friends. And then one of the techniques that we're going to be doing is this, where you use the pearlized paper for ink transfer. So it's not going to be on all 12 cards, but we are going to use it. That will be super fun. And one of the other things that we're going to use is the diorama dies. So those are it's a real fun mix of things. And the technique obviously is going to be the ink transfer, because every retreat has a technique, and this one actually for spring retreat we did embossing techniques, and this is, if you did the retreat, then you'll be happy that I'm giving you another idea on how to use your embossing powder. So for that one we got clear embossing powder, and then it's also a little bit of a what's on my desk. I like to do those, so sometimes I do a little series and I just keep going with what's on my desk. That way it gives you more ideas of what to use if you buy one of the things that I show you. So this card, I did wild roses. So we stamped the tag. This tutorial is up on YouTube. And then I used the embossing folder for the background on the super beautiful shimmer vellum. So this was soft succulent and crumb cake. So a really fun country kind of design. So I'm going to switch it up on this. I'm still going to use wild roses, but I'm going to use it for the background. And then I'm going to use the folder, and I'm going to use it for the little tag. Still going to do the same tag, still kind of the same basic layout, just to show you. I know some of you are just starting and you don't have a ton of stuff. You can make a lot of different looks with what you do have. I am going to switch the words. The last one I used Create with Friends. This time I'm going to use Biggest Wish. So those are the 2 stamp sets that I'm using. So let's stamp first. So I'm going to take my background stamp, and you can put it on your block, you can put it in a Stamparatus, or you can be lazy like me and just lay it on the table. It kind of depends on what you're doing with it. Last time I was just doing a small section, so it was easy to control. And this time I'm using clear Versamark. So again, it's not going to get my hands dirty. My hands are already dirty from all of the cards I've been doing today. So I'm just going to make sure it's inked well. It's kind of hard to see with the Versamark. But the nice thing about this is we're going for another kind of country look. So if it's a little bit rustic, I'll be okay with that. Then I have a 1/4 sheet of vellum. And it's a full 1/4 sheet, which obviously won't go on our card. But this gives you a little bit of room on the sides, because we're going to emboss, to hold on to it and not mess up your design. So this is where if you have a Stamparatus, you don't have to sit here and mess with this. And if you want your design to be perfect, like I'm creating a background, and again, I don't care if it's a little bit rustic. If you want your background like this to be perfect, then put it in your Stamparatus and you don't have to rub like this. So just get all of that on there. And then I usually take my pick tool. I kind of lift it up, especially if it has ink on it. Get this out of the way. Then I'm going to use our clear embossing powder, which if you did the retreat, you have that. We did a bunch of fun retreat techniques with it. So this is the clear. They've changed the way they package our embossing powders. And on the last one, I wanted black. And I don't have any black anymore, so I have ordered the bundle. And I think it was black, gold, and copper. And my copper is almost gone, so. And then I think the other one was the clear, white, and silver. But if you do this technique with this stamp, you will need lots of embossing powder. Usually it lasts forever. So I don't know if you can see this very well. And since the retreat, I've had several people who participated ask me all kinds of embossing questions. So I've been answering them. And this is a good time to tell all of you some embossing tips. I'm going to heat up my gun. I'm going to let it get hot, and then I'll be back. So here are some tips for you if you're new to embossing or if you feel like your embossing fails. So I'm going to heat from the top. Often I heat from the bottom, but because this has so much, I'm going to heat from the top. You want to get your gun hot first. And you can get it hot over the top, but you want to hold it in one spot. You don't want to wave it, because if you wave it, everything's not going to heat and it's going to be bumpy and some of it's going to fall off. So you can see now, hopefully you can see some of it's shiny and some of it is still dull. And because I'm holding my gun in one spot, you want to go just till it goes shiny and then you move it. If you go too long, it melts all the way flat back to the paper. And a technique like this, especially the resist, doesn't work. Or if you're trying to do some really pretty bold words, they'll kind of flatten. So it's much easier to just move it. And if you do it this way and angle it in the light, then you can see everywhere and make sure you got it. And I'm going to flip this around. And once your gun's hot, it goes pretty fast. That first few seconds, if you don't heat your gun up first, then it seems like it's taking forever. I hope you can see it. The clear is a little bit difficult. If you're new to embossing, I highly recommend that you get gold or a silver, because those are flat metallic until they're heated and you can see them. So they're really easy to get your technique down with. But if you're a waver, an embossing gun waver, you're probably always wiping some of your stuff off. And if you feel like you need to do something forever, you probably also are making it too flat. It's a fine line. So right here I can see there's still a little bit of powder right there. But again, on this second go around, you want to make sure that you don't do it too long. See, there it goes. And then again, right there. And it's really just finding the best window. You might have to sometimes move. I have studio light, so I can do this on a gray day like today. Because the technique I'm going to do with this, if it's still powder on my paper, when you go to sponge it, you're just going to wipe it right off. So right here. When I first learned to stamp, almost 30 years ago, the only thing I did was emboss. I didn't have any colored inks. I had an embossing pad, which was different than they are now, and then gold, black, silver, copper. I don't think I had copper then. Some that had sparkle in them, and I didn't have any ink pads, and I probably stamped like that for 2 years. So you don't have to, and we didn't have embossing guns back then either, so I used a paint stripper. But you don't need a ton of stuff. And when you emboss, it is really dramatic, and people are always like, you made that? Especially back in the day before there was the internet and people didn't know about all kinds of crafts. So I'm going to take Misty Moonlight, and I'm going to take my blending brush, and I did this on the other card. If you watched the other card, we did the blending brush and crumb cake. And see, if you're going to do this and that's not all melted on there, all you're going to do is wipe all of your beautiful pattern off. And there's nothing left because this was clear, so it would just disappear. This is also a good technique if you are trying to get your blending brush down, because the embossing powder resists it, so it keeps shoving it. You don't get those little blending brush circles if you're trying to figure out how to not have those anymore. Our blending brushes are fabulous. They are by far the best ones on the market. And you get 3 of them. And this is my blue one. And I will just make sure that all the ink comes out. And then if I need to use it on another blue, it'll be ready. It just kind of stains it. You can wash them. Now, if you want some of it to be darker, like if we want to go right here, just add more. And you can make it a little darker. Like I said, I'm going for rustic, so I don't care if it's not all solid. So now we have this. And then, very important step, you want to take a tissue and you're going to wipe off all of the stuff that's laying on top of the embossing powder, because this, it may eventually dry. It's not going to dry here because it's super humid. Just grab your tissue, and it really makes that white pop. See the difference between where I've wiped off and where I haven't? I was very tempted to just do this in the exact same colors that I had made the other card because I think it would be really pretty in the succulent and the crumb cake. But these flowers kind of reminded me of pottery, so I decided to switch it. Now, when you keep getting ink on this, you need to fold it over or just get a new one. Otherwise, all you're doing is spreading the same ink all around. So you pretty much do it. You can see how it's getting lighter and lighter till that's pretty much wiped off. I'm not getting the edges because I'm going to trim this. Okay, I have my Christmas class sitting to my left and my right. So I don't have my paper trimmer on the table. I'm just going to hop over to my guillotine and trim this down because you want it to be 4 by 5 1/4. And right now it's a 1/4 sheet. Okay, so we've trimmed this down. Isn't that pretty? And aren't my fingers not pretty? It is a messy technique. So now I have a little scrap piece. I'm going to do a very similar tag to what I did on the other card. So this time I'm going to use Flirty Flamingo, which probably isn't a color that you would associate with Misty Moonlight, but I really wanted to use the Flirty Flamingo ribbon, so I made it work. So I've got the Happy, and this is from the Biggest Wish stamp set, which is the one that I started out to use on my other card, and then I didn't. So we're going to do the Happy. Isn't that pretty? And then I'm going to go back to my Misty Moonlight. And you stamp the birthday over the top. So I'm not going to go all the way over the top. I'm going to do it just down a little bit. And that's partly because it fits my tag nicely like that. Same tag that I used on the other card. So I'm just going to trim this out, but you don't need to see it because you can go watch the other video. And I give you a little tips on that one about not doing speed bump. Okay, so I've trimmed this out. And then now, like I told you, I'm reversing it up. So the other card was this is the background and this was the tag. Now this is the background. This is going to be the tag. But when you lay this in here, you want to pick someplace. See, there's holes. So I want someplace where I'm going to get a bunch of flowers. And you need to remember that the side that says Stampin' Up, that's right side up. Because if you get all holes, then there's no point in running it through there. Because this is kind of a tiny tag for this giant. Let's put it over here. Giant floral. So put this here. I'm going to run that through. So isn't that pretty? Super, super pretty. Now we just need to take, I'm going to take my ribbon. This is how I decided to go with this color combination because we didn't have any midnight ribbon. And I thought about doing the one that comes in the mini catalog that goes with the art gallery, the fine art floral, but I didn't like that. I wanted it to have a tad bit of brightness, but not be overly bright. So last time we went this direction, this time I'm going this way. So I'm going to do a piece of ribbon through each one. When you do this, it has 2 slits. If you go long ways, there's 1. So we're going to go this way on the card. So you just need enough now that you will fold around the card. So just do it twice. It's going to be very similar to what we did on the other card, except this time we have the 2 pieces and it's not vellum. So we're not having to worry about covering up the vellum. Just trim that off. But I do want it raised up, so I'm going to go ahead and just use my dimensionals. So put this on here straight. And I'm going to grab 4 dimensionals. So those 2 will hold that down. And these 2 will hold this down. And then you can kind of decide where you want this. If you want it top, if you want it a little bit to the left. I'm just going to put mine right here. Pull these off. Another good card for those of you that don't like to tie ribbons, because I know you're out there because you tell me all the time. Pop that on and then again flip it over. And this time you don't have to worry about the adhesive. So just pull it straight. And then I'm not going to pull these, press on them super hard just yet because I want to make sure they're straight. So if you just kind of lay them on here the first time, you can flip this over. And to see if they're not straight here, you can move it. And if they're super crooked, then you could just undo them. So now they're good. So now just kind of press down on them. And then let's take our Misty Moonlight cardstock. Now, paper that's been fully embossed does have a tendency to curl, so make sure that you get all the way around your edges here. And that way you can have the best luck at pressing this flat. So you can see it's already curled, but it's just because it has all that embossing powder on it going the opposite way. So just put this here. Then a couple of more little fun things we're gonna do. We're gonna take our dark flamingo and our dark blends, and we're gonna use them two different ways. One, we're gonna whack it, because that's my favorite thing to do. And you do have to, if you're gonna do this, you have to use the blends because the other ink would wipe off of the embossing powder. And remember, you can get a bone folder free this month with purchase from me. So just go to my website and use the host code, and then with qualifying orders you get the bone folder, and higher orders you get the charm. My husband will drill the hole and my girlfriend makes the charms, and your bone folders can be beautiful and you don't get them mixed up with other people's. So a little bit of both of those. I like the dark blue. I hope you can see it. The dark goes, you can see those splatters over the other blue. It also helps because our hands are super dirty after doing this. So if you've touched your tag anywhere, this is going to help cover it up. Then I took the new epoxy shapes, and these are the clear ones. They come in clear and frosted. And you just take the tip of your brush tip of your blends, same two colors. So I've already done the flamingos, and there's another Misty Moonlight. Let's just pick these up. It's just a very subtle color because these are already so clear. So I'm going to put the flamingo down by my Moonlight word, and then I'll grab they dry pretty fast, but the one I just did is probably a little wet because it's raining. But my hands are already so dirty, it doesn't matter. And then so I did one teardrop, and then these two are the diamonds, and then there's also circle shapes. There you go. Isn't that fun? Super, super fun. Here's my other one. They look pretty similar. This one I was a little bit lighter on well, I don't know if I had a lighter touch, but I haven't washed this out or smudged it out, so it started out with a little bit more ink. Super fun. Let me show you the other one again. So here it is in reverse. So this one has the stamping and the embossing. This one has the embossing and the stamping. But two fun, different looks. And you could use just one of the stamp sets. I just wanted to show you both Create with Friends and Biggest Wish. Everybody have a great day, and I will catch you back here later. Bye.